Very good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to the live trading session with myself, Giles Cochran, and Paul Sanders.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning again, Paul. How you doing? You okay?
Good, good.
Okay. Right, should we get stuck into what's moving markets right now, and we can begin.
Sounds great.
So yesterday, what we saw was a definite dip buy from that key support and resistance level that we highlighted. This trend line is very important, and the fact that we've managed to hold above it just tells you that dip buyers were very happy to come in around that sort of strong daily support area that we're in. Notice as well that what we saw just before we left the session yesterday, we saw sort of very clear divergence going on. Let's just see, it was down here, so ignore that divergence. That was the mini one that we saw that didn't work out. But it was this deeper divergence that we saw, really quite pronounced. We saw price making lower lows, but the cumulative delta making higher lows. So even as price was moving lower, the delta was actually moving higher. So aggressive buyers were absorbing the passive sellers. And as those sellers, they're selling on the limit, selling on the limit, selling on the limit, and the buyers buying it. And that was kind of the bottom area. Since then, if you look across equity markets generally, Europe's had a nice bounce. The VIX has tried to push into that 20 area and been rejected. You've got a sort of hammer reversal bar on the VIX. From a little technical note, when you see a hammer reversal bar like this, it's inferior to a hammer reversal bar that closes down within the body of the candle. Let me show you an example. See if I've got one here. So, right, here's a good one. This is not bad. You see, you got a hammer reversal bar that closes within the body of the previous candle. It's just a little bit more technically resilient, technically sound. It's not a surprise that you got buyers come in the next day, right? So what we've got rejection of that area, but technically it's slightly inferior. So in other words, you're more likely to have a move back up to the inside of that area. Now, the reason equity markets were selling off yesterday, particularly in the US, was on that weak US consumer confidence that we saw. Remember, that was a catalyst for potential further downside, 98.3, below market's minimum expectations. So there's just general weakness out there. That resulted in a further bid into bonds. This is getting a lot of headlines at the moment, this move in US 10-year notes. And you see that's really quite marked. And you've got to remember, almost all analysts, when Trump took office, were calling for yields up 5%, 5.5%, even higher. So this is moving in exactly the opposite direction. Some sort of talking heads point out that generally speaking, when you've got a Republican government, you tend to see the dollar lower. So I'm seeing some pretty wise heads talking about a lower dollar from here. But the received wisdom is that tariffs should result in yields pushing higher. It should be inflationary. So ING, for instance, they're saying they still think yields are going to be higher and they still think tariffs are going to have an impact, but a little bit more in the future. The risk with that is, at what point do you bail? Do you see what I mean? And they've already revised their expectations for yields to be top of 5% for this year, down from 5.5%. There is also talk about Elon Musk's cost-cutting exercise with his Doge antics. And that's seen, as having some particular impact in the bond space, that it could be helpful to get the fiscal deficit down in the US. So that's just one of the pressures that's on yields, and that's helping the dollar lower, right? A little bit of a bump in the dollar now. Remember, anything on tariffs is going to be important, and we've got March the 4th, which is when the Canada and Mexico trade tariff pause is meant to end. And then you got March the 12th, you've got the 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium coming in. So there's tariffs ahead, so wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of dollar strength, and we're just seeing a little bit of dollar upside today, right? On the calendar, it's quiet. The next big event is the earnings from NVIDIA after hours at 9:20 UK time. So that's towards the end of the US session, right? Sort of maybe, I think that's is that 4:20 US time? I think that is.
We're still separated by 5 hours, right? So that could be 3:23, 9:20. You said UK.
Yeah, 9:20 UK.
So 320 maybe?
Let me just double check that.
Or no, four, yeah,
Or yeah, 4:20 Eastern time. Yeah, that's it.
920. Okay. Yep.
I remember we had that weird sell-off that happened when DeepSeek announced their sort of AI model that surprised everyone.
Right.
So remember, now this is going to be viewed through DeepSeek. What impact has it had, if any?
Yep.
How has it changed NVIDIA's outlook, if at all? Right. So that's the bell of the ball today, NVIDIA earnings. With that all being said, we're seeing clear dip buying moves. And if you're looking at the S&P 500, just as we zoom out, key trend line, we found some support, right? Big wick, holding above the daily pivot point, looking like it can be a potentially be Harami inside bar, right? Now this is mid candle, but just saying this is the kind of area where you see a reversal. Just be like, that's a hammer reversal bar with the body closing within the body of the previous day candle. You see that? Hammer reversal bar, and that was a clear big push higher. So there was a reversal, but it wasn't like as clear cut as this. So the jury's still out. We could see sellers, we could see buyers. Wouldn't be surprised if we went down into this, back to threaten taking that trend line and then pushing back up on the NVIDIA earnings, or vice versa. So I'm very neutral today, and just looking for opportunities as and when they occur in line with the order flow. So what have we seen in terms of inventory? From the Globex Open, we've seen positive inventory, and we've seen price slowly grinding higher, but now settled into a range with a slight bias of selling. Ever so slightly, we've seen some sellers come in. They've now taken out some of these late buyers, and we've had a rejection from these higher prices, and prices looking like it wants to move lower, okay? The kind of range-bound price action, but with a bias to buy the dip. We've opened outside of yesterday's value area, or will we open outside of yesterday's value area? At the moment we are. So that is indicating that this area here is a great area to look for potential buying opportunities if we hold above this on the open. So I'm looking at that. Important areas of delta. On the hourly chart, you've got some important areas up here at the 6,007. You've also got an important area here on the 6,000 with sellers coming in and temporarily rejecting that 6,000 area. Buyers are around this 5,960. So that's an important area for buyers. So they're the two important areas on the hourly chart. On the 15-minute chart, we've had steady buying on the delta with some stronger bouts of selling, possibly profit taking. Remember, investors are looking ahead to the NVIDIA earnings later. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, if price moves lower and finds some dip buying and then hovers around waiting for NVIDIA, I wouldn't be surprised to see that. The calendar itself is light. You can see that we've got EIA crude stocks. Now, the expectation is going to be a build of 2.6 million barrels per day. The private inventory data last night saw a draw of 0.6 million. Oil markets are lower, and they are lower on that drop in US consumer confidence and that general downward pressure that we saw in equities. That's impacted oil markets. And there is a sort of big oversupply in the oil markets that's continuing to weigh on markets. So what we'd be looking for there is if that was a draw of like 10 or 11 million barrels per day, you could see oil spike higher. Okay, so that's something to look for. The 7-year bond auction has the potential to move markets at 6. We've got Bostich speaking at 5. And apart from that, it's quiet. And it's just wait. I haven't seen any comments from Barkin. Had a quick look, nothing there. And the note to end on is that Trump is up and posting. So he is up. He was posting an hour ago on Truth Social that Apple should get rid of DEI rules.
Excellent. Okay.
So he's active.
He's starting strong.
He's starting strong. He's ready. He's coming out fighting. So
that's good.
Oh, and the only other thing I saw was this Remember that Walmart? Remember I said that Walmart thing with that CFO,
Yeah.
right? Look at that on Walmart, and looking at that 90 region, and that pattern there is called the Morning Star pattern,
Mm.
which is very powerful in stocks because you have a downtrend, strong sell candle. Then you have, if you look at here, do you see how it's open below the close?
Mm-hmm.
That means sellers were aggressive, and they at this point they think they're totally dominating everything, and there's a gap between those two.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the third candle that closes up above the 50% candle of the previous candle, right? That's a 3-bar reversal pattern. Does make it quite likely to go up to that 104, 105 region.
Okay.
And we saw it, if you remember what I pointed out, and I think Najam was onto this as well. Oh, that's Aston Martin who was struggling heavily. Apple. This had a Morningstar pattern as well on the weekly chart. So again here, where you see selling, gap, right? The sellers have really dominated, bouncing off resistance. Then the third candle closing up well within the body of the first candle. So that's just a clear reversal candle, and you can see that a slight pullback and it's just carried on up higher.
Interesting.
It's a pattern to look out for on stocks. You don't get it so much in FX because of the continuous pricing. So it's mainly a stock pattern because of the gaps you get at the open.
Okay.
But just interesting to see that Walmart resilience. That's quite significant to me. So I think they overreacted to those earnings projections.
Yeah. Then what are they weighted? Is it like 2% or something? 1.5%? The S&P?
Walmart. Let me just double check.
We had chatted about that.
Yeah, maybe a bit more. Let's. I think, yeah, it was. It is only 0.84% weighting.
Okay.
But the reason markets reacted to it is because of what it it's not the weighting that made them react. It's the fact that it's Walmart and
consumer.
And the US consumer, and that vulnerable US consumer. You know what I mean? Because if people are even feeling too tight to seek value,
yeah,
there's a problem, and that's why markets get super nervous about that. Okay, significant area at that 5985. 4 minutes to the open.
Mark's at it again. It's good.
Yeah, Mike had a very nice shot off the VWAP.
Okay.
Up to the VWAP and then sold off.
Trying to clip it for 3 points.
Yeah, just gonna nip to the bathroom.
Someone just to be aware of regarding Chinese and Taiwan relations. Taiwan Defense Ministry says that Chinese forces left the drill zone off Taiwan's coast by 3:40 p.m. on Wednesday.
I think you'll be fine. From what I understand, they don't have any hard rules on it, and then they're looking for something more extreme, like, you know, you get in there and you're risking like 6-8 points, and you're trying to take a point off every time. Something like that, and then you're leveraging way up, so you're using like five positions and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you should be fine, shouldn't you? On that
you should be fine, I would think.
Yeah, because in fact they said they just didn't want like a 3 to 4 negative R to R ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So with a 2 to 1, that should be fine.
Yeah. Well, you can get a payout when it drops below 30%. So that one day, so if you work the math out, essentially that one day just has to be less than 30% then of your overall gains. I think that's the biggest thing. I think it is, Najam. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll just want to stop the guy who just loads up 100 lots and gets lucky. It's that thing, isn't it?
That's what they're trying to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, just keep checking. And the thing is, if you're not sure, just put in another request, right, and ask.
Yep. What percentage was that one day of your profit, Mark? Was it like 100%? Like, was it a really big day? Here's the open.
Yeah, a lot of volume just coming just before. Still with sellers for the moment.
Yeah, I see. I mean, the other thing you can do, it just depends on what you want to do with the account, but you can also, if you're trading one contract but you have a really high win rate, you could move it up to 2 contracts. That's the other thing. But I don't know, consistent, slow, that's the way to go, I think.
Okay, we've hit the second standard deviation. Now, it'll be interesting to see if buyers start coming in from here. They are coming in. You can see them building, trying to come in. They're testing it. Oh, but they were just chucked out the way by a whole lot of aggressive sellers that came in. So we're now pushing down through that developed value area from yesterday. We're now in yesterday's value area.
For evals, yeah, that makes sense if you wanted to get through quickly, particularly with over the next like few days, they've got the 1 day to pass. So you've got that going for you. Because in that case, it just becomes a math equation, right? It's like if you can gain 2
remarks from EU's Callas says will not meet US Secretary of State Rubio on February 26th to 27th trip to Washington, D.C.
You're looking to take a long here, Giles?
I was tempted. It's just I'm just a little bit too deep into this area. I might see if I start to see some evidence of a turnaround. You can see the volumes picking up strongly.
Yeah.
2,000 contracts coming in there. But I'm going to try an entry. If I get a little bit lower, let's just see. So I can probably manage risk quite carefully here. Right, let's see. Okay, try a little entry there. And I can always jump out if it's going the wrong way. Okay, buyers coming in again. Bit of positive delta. Just seeing if I can pick this bottom here. That's what I'm looking at. Got the point of control down here. Trying to hold above it. Okay, so getting absorption down here. You see buyers building. Yeah, so I'm happy to hold it. You can see that absorption going on. That's nice. We've got a slight momentum shift as well. See if I can get a close above those breakout sellers. You can see clear absorption going on.
Yep, it's continuing to kind of push up a little bit.
Yeah. Right, then a little bit of movement, just clearing out those sellers. So that's clearing them out. Okay, I'm out.
Nice one.
Just around 10 points. That was nice.
Very nice move.
So, the first trade of the day was a nice 10-pointer. As we came down to this second standard deviation, we were looking at the broad picture of the E-mini, and we were looking for dip buying with that big trend line being respected. It was perfectly reasonable to look for dip buying at the open. Sentiment was pretty positive. So I took the first trade off that standard deviation, saw some absorption, price moving lower, but delta moving higher.
Costa says there'll be no exceptional measure to boost economic growth.
Let's just turn the squawk off for a moment. And then you can see it more clearly on the 1 minute chart. So that absorption building, which is just here. You see the price making higher lows, even as the delta making higher lows, even as the delta's making lower lows. Nice absorption. Took that, then had another shot at a long on those trapped sellers to see if I could get another launch higher. Got the launch higher, but I was out very early just for break even, just as that moved back. Too jittery on that one, really. Then wanting to get into the trend, missed an opening range breakout trade just because we were looking for a better price, just as we pushed up through that 5993, just missed it by half a tick. But then saw these trap sellers here, breakout, pullback, ideal place to added in. Then took another couple of trades on the micro just to manage risk a bit more easily. And then we just saw some buyers getting trapped up there. Saw again absorption on the standard contract. You can just see that price is making higher highs, even as the delta is making lower lows. So there's buyers on the bid, but they're being met by aggressive sellers. Saw the absorption, looking to get involved in it. Took a short there, trying to move down to the VWAP, just hit out for break even. Then wanted to go long on the other move, but conscious of this absorption, so just closed out for a loss. So that was the day. Not a bad day at all, and look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
Thursday, and then we got PCE coming up on Friday. So
which is the bell of the ball. That should be the best event of the week. We shall see, but definitely worth looking at.
Sounds great. Take care, everybody.
Okay, folks. Bye now. Yeah, bye.